Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your kind attention, please? Our program will be starting in a minute. Thank you. My name is Melody Xu. I'm the co-founder and VP of Strategy and Public Relations of OC Medical Education Foundation, OMAF. On behalf of OMAF Board of Directors and all members, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you to join tonight's forum and the inauguration of OMAF. We appreciate you taking the time of your busy schedule on a very lovely summer Friday to join us tonight. We hope you will find the program we have lined up for you to be fruitful and engaging. Please refer to our agenda and knowing that there would be two rounds of Kahoot group tonight, the game or with prize. I would like to encourage you to participate with some fun and great opportunity of gaining valuable prize. To be respectful of everybody's time, we'll be managing the Q&A for each speaker through the chat box. Two questions per each speaker. At this time, allow me to begin our program by sharing the congratulatory video of Pam Danforth, MP of Oakville North Burlington, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Indian Services. Welcome, Pam.
I'm Pam Demoff, the Member of Parliament for Oakville North Burlington, and I'd like to extend my warm congratulations to the Oak Medical Education Foundation on your opening tonight. It would have been my honor to be with you in person to celebrate. Supporting hospitals and healthcare facilities is incredibly important, and it's fantastic to see organizations like yours become leaders in the community. Sparking passion within young people for the medical sciences is the first step in supporting our medical leaders of tomorrow. Our government knows how incredibly important work to support our healthcare services is, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, on behalf of the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau and all members of the House of Commons, I'd like to extend congratulations again on your opening and the exciting adventure you will be embarking on. I'm looking forward to seeing the work that you will do to support current and future medical leaders. Thank you.
Thanks for MP Danmoff for her encouraging word. Yes, it is indeed incredible importance for community to support our healthcare services and foster a place for our young people to explore their interests of future development. Moving right along, it is now our pleasure to welcome MPP of Oakville, Stephen Crawford, Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Infrastructure, for his remarks. Welcome, MPP Crawford.
And indeed, there's a saying that volunteers are not paid because they are worthless, but because they are priceless. So we definitely value the work you do and your mission to prepare and empower the next generation, identify leaders, and bridge the medical community with the community at large, I think is very worthy. And it's even more important, I think, through the pandemic. The pandemic's been very trying on everyone in our community. And I know everyone's been handling it differently, but I'm the father of four daughters, and they have been obviously, like many of you who have children, doing online learning. In fact, as I speak here right now, two of my girls are doing online gymnastics. They'll be back in the gym within a few weeks, but that's the world we live in, and it's taken a toll, especially on our youth. So I think for your organization to be able to bridge the community and help future leaders, link them to the medical community, I think is so essential, so worthy. And although it's been tough, the pandemic, I certainly want to leave on a high note my remarks, because I am so optimistic and excited about the future for this province. We were back in December 2019, we had an incredibly strong economy. And then of course, COVID came. I know that we're going to come back to a very strong economy. A strong economy will be great for people's mental health, and it'll be great because we'll be able to support the great medical facilities and healthcare that we need in this great province. So I'm really optimistic, and it's no different if you look back in history to the Spanish flu of 1918-19 and the Roaring 20s that occurred afterwards. I'm really excited. We're going to have the Roaring 20s after. I hope your organization is going to play a key role here in our community. I want to congratulate you, wish you all the best. And on behalf of myself, my family, and the Government of Ontario and Premier Ford, wish you all the great success for your organization. And we're certainly here to support you in any way that we can. So thank you very much and all the best tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you, MVP Crawford. You're definitely right. Our youth, they are the future. They're the backbone of the community, right? So it's indeed OMF vision and mission to continually identify and support the youth leader through the program. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I would love to see one day how an online gymnastic class looks like. Well, but thank you so much for your warm remark. We look forward of having you in our future event. Now, ladies and gentlemen, neighbors and friends, so please join me in welcoming our MPP of Oakville North Burlington, Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Long-Term Care, Alfie Trentafilopoulos, for her remarks. MPP Trentafilopoulos, am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Melody, I think MVP Trentafilopoulos is on the way to here.
Definitely. Why don't we move on while we're waiting for her? So on my agenda, well, then it's my pleasure to welcome our Mayor, Rob Burton, as our next remark speaker. Mayor Burton, the floor is yours.
Melody, I don't think I see Mayor Burton on the line here.
I'm searching around the grill. I didn't see him either. You know, it must be some internet traffic around tonight.
It is very possible.
It is very possible. Let's move on. We have to be, you know, living in this world. We have to be agile. But thanks for your patience. Now on my agenda, if we move on, then it's my pleasure to welcome our Oakville Town and Regional Council, Ward 6, Tom Adam. Council Adam, welcome. The floor is yours then.
Thank you so much. It's really nice to see so many people taking part in this evening. It's great to that there's dozens and dozens of people who've taken a Friday evening to join this organization and hear the speakers. And I'm really looking forward to hearing the speakers later on as we get through the evening. But first of all, I wanted to take a moment to thank all of the frontline and essential workers for all of the hard work and courage and dedication that they've had day after day throughout the entire pandemic. Really, without those workers, the fight against COVID-19 would really have been impossible. And in particular, the healthcare workers of all types that have been really front and center, working tirelessly throughout all of this to keep the world running throughout the difficult times that we've had over the last year and a bit. And despite this risk to their own health and safety, they've continued to dedicate their time and their efforts to providing these really essential services for all of us. And there are really no good words to properly express the gratitude that I think everybody in our community feels that they've done for us. And so I want to thank you, and I want to hope that tonight can inspire the next generation of the healthcare heroes. And there are so many different ones. The video that you showed at the top there really showed the broad width and depth of different types of careers that are out there and opportunities for people to help their communities. And so it's wonderful to see that. So thank you very much to the Oak Medical Education Foundation organizers, all of you that are on the line here, for the work that you've embarked on. I know it's a great long path that you're going to move along on. And so I look forward to hearing the speakers this evening. I know that there's a couple of my colleagues that are also on the line from council here. I see Councillor Pavan Parmar, who's, I think you're going to have her speak in a moment as well, and Councillor Natalia Lishchina, who joined us as well. So thank you very much for the opportunity to join you, and I look forward to the speakers.
Thank you so much, Councillor Adam. You're totally right. My mom works in as a nurse with her whole professional life, and since I was young, I always remember how tough and challenging it can be, even when she has to, work during the holidays at night. All of those shifts, it is not only challenging for that individual, but also that impact the whole family. So we want to pay respect and definitely understand the importance of being the whole community to support our healthcare system. And thank you so much. You have been always one of the strongest supporter for our community development. We're so thrilled to have you here tonight. Thank you so much. And we
Absolutely,
look forward. We look forward having you in our future event, and then continue to inspire our youth leader in the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, let's welcome Oakville Town and Regional Council Ward 7, Pavan Parmar. Council Parmar, thank you so much for your patience. The floor is yours.
Oh, no worries at all. Hello and good evening. Congratulations on the opening of OMEF. It's my pleasure to be here this evening. It's wonderful to see so many friendly and familiar faces online. It's really nice to be connected with the community. I wanted to take a moment to thank you and thank all of our volunteers in our community who have done so much throughout this pandemic. It really wouldn't have been possible to get through these difficult times without your support. Councillor Adams just spoke about our frontline workers and the amount of time and hours and stress that they've been through, and they honestly lean on support from volunteers like yourself. So thank you so much. This is yet another wonderful initiative from our community to support our hospitals with a focus on youth and children learning in the healthcare field. And my colleagues and I look forward to working with you and supporting you however we can.
Thank you so much, Councillor Parmar, for your encouraging and recognition. It is indeed, we depend on volunteers, and as OMEF, we're also looking forward to provide opportunity for the local youth through the volunteer opportunities as a development path for them. Thank you so much for recognizing that. We definitely also look forward to closely work with you and your team in the future. Your support is essential for us. Thank you so much. So ladies and gentlemen, allow me to thank for all our government officials for their time and support.
Excuse me, Melody.
Yes.
Sorry, I think Councillor Lishchina is with us today.
Oh, my apologize. My apologize.
Thanks, Sean. But Melody, that's okay. Tom has spoken for the council. I don't want to take up too much time. More important stuff is coming up.
Thank you, Councillor Lishchina.
But Councillor Lishchina, yeah, you have been one of those strong supporters for our community. You've been seeing how the community grows, and you've been always there to support us. And thank you so much for being us today. It means so much for us. Thank you. So I was saying, it's such a lovely Friday night, and really I want to extend my thank you for our government officials to spend their times and to give us the support. So please join me to give them another round of applause. Thank you for being us with tonight. It's so important for us. Now, let's pass the time to OMEF's President and CEO, Sean Fang. He had some few words for all of us.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Sean Fang, and I'm thrilled to be the CEO of this organization. For those of you who don't know, the OMEF is a nonprofit organization founded by a group of Oakville volunteers to improve the local community through education, entertainment programs, training, and scholarships. But what we are most excited about is that The OMAF will provide a wonderful platform for volunteering and networking with others in the community, giving everyone a great opportunity to learn, build, and strengthen our marvelous community together. We have great speakers lined up for tonight, all very accomplished and respected members in the healthcare field. For those of you already in the medical profession, or for those aspiring to be, we invite you to come on in, benefit from the wisdom of these speakers. Allow me to share a short video of what OMAP is all about. Thank you.
Sean, I can't hear the voice.
Critical conversations and take action on public health and medical care issues.
We are committed to this concerted effort in strengthening our communities by promoting health and enriching our young people's educational experience with hope, strength, and joy.
We also hope to create opportunities for our young people to develop into responsible citizens and contributing members of their local communities and a wider society.
Ultimately, OMAP is dedicated to outstanding, multidimensional, effective, and forward-thinking philanthropic practices.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for bearing with us while we're navigating through tonight and the technical difficulty. Some of our video you can't really hear at the beginning. We're really trying to work through this. Thanks for your patience. And thank you, Sean, for sharing OMAP's vision. This video and the previous one are on YouTube. So we later on can share a link through the chat box for everybody to see a much better version. Apologize for that again. But now, without wasting too much of your time, let's welcome Susan Haworth, who is the Chief Development Officer of Oakville Hospital Foundation. Oakville Hospital Foundation is a remarkable supporter and partner of OMAP. Susan, welcome and take the floor.
Thank you, Melody. Thank you very much, everyone. Sean, Melody, Scott. I congratulate you on the launch of Oak Medical Educational Foundation tonight. I know it's been a long time coming, and I'm just very excited for everything that this organization is going to do to support the hospital and the Educational Foundation. As you mentioned, I'm the Chief Development Officer at Oakville Hospital Foundation, and I'm very much inspired by all the philanthropy that I'm seeing in our community. You know, our role at the foundation is to raise funds for Oakville Trafalgar Memorial Hospital, predominantly for medical equipment and technology. While many people don't know is that while the majority of our province's hospitals' operating dollars flow through the ministry, funding for equipment and technology has always remained the responsibility of the community. So this means, you know, your hospital, OTMH, relies on the generosity of donors such as you to ensure that our doctors and nurses and frontline staff have those life-changing tools that they rely on. On an ongoing basis, our hospital, OTMH, really relies on this generosity because it ensures that the equipment that we have is the best that it can be. It allows our physicians and caregivers to constantly improve the type of care and the quality of care that our patients receive. And maintaining that equipment can be challenging. You know, we need to make sure that it is up to date and that our hospital remains world-class so that we can expand our treatment options and continue to attract and retain the best and brightest physicians and caregivers to our community hospital. So, your donations will be critical as our hospital equipment continues to age and needs to be updated, as new technologies emerge and our physicians can rely on them to offer more advanced ways to care for patients. I'm very grateful and appreciative of the Oak Medical Educational Foundation and the work that you're going to be doing. Clearly, you understand how important philanthropy is in improving community healthcare, and we're very grateful and fortunate to have your support. And we simply wouldn't, without you and all our donors, have this world-class facility that we do have in Oakville that provides quality care close to home. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Susan. It's indeed, including myself, if I haven't talked to you, if I haven't been involved in this nonprofit organization, foundation, I probably won't know that the equipment and all these critical tools that operating in our hospital are actually depends on the general support of the community. And I'm sure when the community composed of a lot of new immigrants, minorities, communities, that probably is a knowledge gap that we need to close in the near future. OMAF is definitely looking forward and have the community development and bridge the community and our local health system as one of our vision. And thank you for being with us tonight and keeping that as a remark for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're privileged to have our first guest speaker tonight, Professor Xiaolin Wei. Professor Wei is an internationally recognized public health expert and renowned scholar. He's the Dalai Lama Chair in Global Health Policy and Public Health Specialist and Researcher. Professor Wei serves as the Director, Secretary General, and the Vice President of the International Alliance, the Vice President of the International Alliance in the fight against the tuberculosis and lung disease. He's also technical advisor to the World Health Organization, the WHO. Professor Wei received an MD from both Peking University and the University of Toronto, and he was elected a fellow of the UK School of Public Health in 2012. Let's hear from Professor Wei, his experience and view on the subject of Canadian public health system and some strategy of COVID response. Let's welcome Professor Wei.
Thank you very much. So just before I speak, I recorded the video so that will be better quality. And thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm very pleased to be invited here to give a talk about the Canadian public health system and its implications for COVID control. I'm a professor from the Dalai Lama School in public health. And here you can find the picture. The School of Public Health is one of the first has been established in North America. So we were the third one established with help from the Rockefeller Foundation. So that shows our first being, which was in 1918 to 1924. I do not have a recent summary, but that is a summary of what we had recently. We were the first school at faculty level in the last 15 years in the University of Toronto. So we formerly was Department of Public Health and the IHPME, the Institute for Health Policy Management and Evaluation, merged together, became a new faculty. So we have around 80 core faculty, 80 to 90 core faculties, but we have around 800 At that time, it was around 700 affiliated faculties located in the hospitals, in health system, agencies, and public health agencies. So that allow us to collaborate with lots of different, not only the academic questions, but also to solve the practical questions. So my research is on implementation science to look at how to use the theory, but also set up a transdisciplinary team to solve the practical questions. And probably you can recognize him, that is Dr. Edelstein Brown, our dean and professor in the Daladana School of Public Health. So he has been the dean since 2017, and he has led the school in fighting the pandemic. We set up an institute for pandemics, looking at for example, like the modeling to predicting the pandemic. You can see him on a weekly basis on the news on behalf of the science table and in dialogue with policymakers in the province. We also set up interdisciplinary clusters in the school to deal with public health issues. For example, integration of care, artificial intelligence, and implementation science. So we have both domestic and international students, but international students are still quite a relatively smaller proportion. We want more international students. During the pandemic, we also set up an 8th floor of virtual gathering. For the building, probably you know that building was 155 College Street. We have 7 floors. We set up the 8th floor for people to gathering, have a virtual coffee break with students or colleagues in that space. I just want to go over very quickly about Canadian public health history. So public health or health care and is divided between the federal and the provincial governments that was set up in the British North American Act in 1867. So along the years, some provinces, for example, Saskatchewan first implemented universal hospital care, and later it has been adapted by each province and then became a federal objective. So by 1971, so we have set up the medical called Medicare, which is a very comprehensive health insurance system. Actually, we do not pay the insurance, we pay tax, and tax will finance all the health costs. So that has a few principles that has covered all the province comprehensiveness. So all medical necessary services are included, universality, with all covering all citizens and residents. Accessibility. Portability means that you do not need to pay if you are in a different province, but the provincial governments will do the accounting job each other by the end of the year. And also that is public admit. There's no financial threat to citizens of paying their health care. Regarding the delivery, Canadian healthcare is mostly delivered by the private organizations, who could be by private doctors or private hospitals. But private hospitals are managed under a board of directors, which involve the government representatives and involve the community members. So it's on a non-for-profit basis. In the hospitals, there are 2 lines. So one line is the CEO. It manages everybody except the doctors. And for the doctors, it is managed by the chief medical doctors. We know that we see a doctor, and the doctor will get a pay from the government, the provincial government. And then the doctor would also pay the hospitals for the cost, for example, use the surgery rooms. But again, right now, it's lots of reforms. For example, there are salary doctors as well. So it needs another like 1 hour to discuss about the exact management of this. Another important thing that we are operating under a referral system, which means that people need to see a family physician first and then refer to a specialist either in the hospital or to go to the hospital. So if you go to the hospital directly, you have to wait for a long time in the emergency rooms. So I'm going to skip that because it's talked about the delivery systems, and NGOs play a very important role in the Canadian health system. Primary care is the foundation of the Canadian health system because primary care provides the first contact of care with comprehensive needs and is coordinated between the specialists and the family physicians. And it's also provided the continuity of care. For countries like UK, like Canada, which has a good primary care system, will have improved access to health services and improved health outcomes. For the family physicians in Canada, we are first, the family physician is a skilled clinician. The second family physician is a community-based discipline. So community and physician connections or relationships play a key role to define the family physician's work. So that is also foundation for Canadian health system. Regarding the cost, actually we pay a lot for healthcare. Healthcare accounts for around 11% of the GDP, and mostly through the tax revenue. At the provincial level, it's about 35 to 40% of the provincial budget will go to healthcare. And also there about the other half of healthcare is transferred from the federal government to provincial government. So healthcare accounts a lot for our cost. Regarding the Canadian COVID responses, I put them into the different categories. And that is just a very quick overview because we cannot talk them in 10 minutes. For example, if we talk about public health capacities, we are well prepared in terms of, for example, in terms of the qualified physicians and laboratory capacity, etc. But still, no country has been well prepared for this, and it's a public emergency. On the other side, because of the federalism, which divides. Okay, I just want to continue the talk. Well, it was not well recorded. So we have a federal government and provincial government. I think that also defines about responsibility for healthcare. For example, like the announcement of the emergency actions are the responsibility of the provincial government. So you would see a very kind of localized policy has been going on in different provinces. And also you would see that the decision about people who have, different interests at the policymaker level. In the beginning, we were not prepared well for the pandemic. I think every country was not prepared. And the federal government has put a lot of resources into helping provincial governments, and so did, for example, in Ontario, we try to mobilize all the resources for COVID care. But we also have neglected areas for it. For example, like long-term care was a disaster in this pandemic, and in the first wave of the pandemic that started from March until June, the death rates in the long-term care, the numbers accounted for 80% of all the deaths in Ontario. So that's all in Canada as total as well. So that was really a tragic moment. But later on, we began to know that, we began to know the problems between the public and private funded long-term care facilities. And then we began to ramp up the guidelines and then the monitoring and the evaluation of the implementation of these guidelines, and we began to catch up it. In terms of vaccination, we were quite slow in the beginning, but we have been one of the best progressing OECD countries at this moment. I think we need to, because it's really a very short time, we need to recognize that there's a disconnection between the healthcare system and the community. So I want to highlight the previous slide about family care, about primary care family physicians. They are the connecting point between the healthcare and the community. However, primary care was not really well informed, very prepared, and being given the resources to fight the pandemic. Family doctors do not know what they do, and they do not have enough equipment, etc. And so right now, we do have the family doctors about the guidelines, about testing, about treating, etc. But we still lose the connection with people who are tested positive of COVID and then have to be isolated at home. Because right now, over 60% of the infection, which we could trace out, happen at home. So that means the home isolation and home protection has not been well carried out. And also, we do not have the connection between the health system and people who can do better tracing, tracking, and isolation of the patients and their close contacts. So those are going to be a long-term job, because the pandemic probably will be with us for a couple of years. And also it reminded us that we do need a very strong public health system, such as we do not have a strong health system, strong public health system like the American CDC or China CDC, which could act with a lot of resources within a short time, but put the two countries on the other side because they have different stories for COVID. I think in the future, Canada also need to think how to strengthen our public health agency. BC would be a very good example, with the BC CDC played a major role during the pandemic. Okay, so that is what I would like to share with us. And thank you very much for the invitation and giving me the opportunity to talk about public health concerns. So that is my email. So welcome to connect with me if you have any questions. And thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Professor Wei, for such an informative and relevant presentation. I definitely heard a lot of similar message over there, the disconnection, the crucial importance for our community to continually to support our public health system. I'm sure all of us can relate to at least some of the words you mentioned. So thank you so much for sharing tonight. I would now open the floor for Q&A, and we'll be selecting 2 questions for Professor Wei from the chat box. For those who feel more comfortable to unmute yourself and just ask directly, please go ahead and then type your question over there, and you can be selected, then you can go ahead to ask. And for those who prefer me to speak to your questions, definitely also do so and give me a hint through the chat box. That would be a great. Okay, I saw 2 really good questions coming in. So Joyce was asking, Joyce, you feel comfortable to unmute yourself, right? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Melody. Hi, Professor Wei. Thank you so much for your presentation to introduce Canadian healthcare system and its implication to COVID. You just mentioned that our Canadian healthcare system is not as strong as the States, but I'm just wondering from your perspective, in what area we are weaker than the States? And also, what is the future in Canadian healthcare system?
Thank you for a question. I do not want to stir controversies because people have different ideas. But one side, I think, which is a common agreement among the academic and policymakers, that we do not have a very strong public health system as strong as the American CDC. For example, American CDC have much better resources than the Public Health Agency Canada, and it has direct connection within each state to implement testing, disease surveillance, etc. And for our PHA, for example, Public Health Canada, Public Health Agency Canada, is not well resourced as the American CDC. And also we have the different the provincial level public health agencies are under different names, and also they have different capacities. BC CDC is much stronger than Public Health Ontario. So for example, but on the other side, there was a very, very chaotic leadership in America during the period. So you would not see a very good response within because of the leadership, because of coordination. So that will put into another story.
Thank you, Professor Wei. I forgot to tell you the question can be tough, but still come in with us in the future, please. I do have another really good question through the chat box. They're asking, could Professor Wei provide some insights on the vaccine passport? Thank you.
That is also a very important topic, but very hard to answer, because that will be related not only with the vaccine, the effectiveness of the vaccine, and also related with the basic global health diplomacy. So right now we are still doing research. So I'm with one of the group in Ontario using ICES data to look at the population level how protective the vaccines would be. At the present, what we can learn from evidence that the vaccines are very good at protecting the serious infection, which means that death and hospitalization, but it's less effective in protecting people getting the COVID, which means that people can still be infected, but will be much, much less severe. So in this way, vaccines will be useful, but that will not be the only solution for this. So another thing is that about diplomacy, because there's the vaccines right now. We talk about the major vaccines produced in the West. There are also vaccines produced in China. Also, there are being vaccines produced in Russia. So that will be, I would say, lots of discussion regarding how to do this and how vaccines can be recognized across countries. But I'm sure, so in the future, vaccination passport will be a very practical solution. And also people have the ethical concerns for the developing countries. People would not be able to access to vaccines. So sorry, but a short answer that is very complicated, but that is a way to be forward. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. We have really good questions coming in, and I hate to say that limited by time, we have to move on so that we're not standing between you and your weekend. But thank you, Professor Wei, who has shared with us his email address, and if you have any questions you want to continually ask for Professor, I'm sure that Professor Wei will be waiting to be connected and answer. And I'm looking forward to have Professor Wei to come back and speak in OMAP Future event. Thanks for your understanding. So
thank you.
And thank you again, Professor Wei. for being with us, and thank you again for our audience for the great questions. Now let's get some fun by playing the first round of Kahoot game. I'll pass the time to Sabrina, who will walk us through the game process and some rules. She will help you to get set up. So good luck.
Hi everyone, I am Sabrina and a volunteer from OMEF. I am currently a grade 10 student and I will be leading today's Kahoot game. I will start from introducing to you on how to play a Kahoot game, and I will also be playing a short video while waiting for people to join in. Before I start my explanations, I think you have all heard of the prize we are giving out for the top fives. We have beginning coding lesson for first place, and it's worth $630. Indoor golf practice pass for second place, that is worth $400. Adult eye exam and consultation for third place, that is worth $110. Summer program cash coupon for fourth place, that is worth $100. And a gift card for fifth place, that is worth $50. So please show your best. Just a quick disclaimer before I start. If you are currently joining the Zoom call with your phone, you will need another device to join the Kahoot game because your Kahoot game will crash if you kept on switching between different apps on your phone. First, please go to kahoot.it. Just open Safari or Google or any web page you're using right now and type in kahoot.it as shown on the screen. After you type it in, you should see a screen like this, and you do not need to download anything. Now, please go back to our main Zoom meeting and enter the game pin on the screen. If you missed it while I'm playing the video, please check the Zoom chat box. I will be sending the game pin there. If you correctly enter the code, you will ask for a nickname. Enter a nickname, or you can choose your real name. It will represent you during this Kahoot game. If you see your name in the Zoom meeting screen, you are good to go. And for those of you that might join during the video, you will see a screen like this saying that you are in, which means you are also ready for the game. That will be the end of my explanation. I will start the game now and give everyone a minute to join. The Kahoot game will start after the video. Please enjoy.
So everybody, that is your game pin, 2469342. Oh, we got somebody joining. You guys are fast.
I will start playing the video now, and the Kahoot game will start after the video.
Coming from different professional backgrounds, we all share the same passion for improving the quality and accessibility of the public health services, and for nurturing the similar passion of our young people.
With this platform, OMAP, we hope to inspire and empower our youth to enter critical conversations and take action on public health and medical care issues.
We are committed to this concerted effort in strengthening our communities by promoting health and enriching our young people's educational experience with hope, strength, and joy.
We also hope to create opportunities for our young people to develop into responsible citizens and contributing members of their local communities and the wider society.
Ultimately, OMAP is dedicated to outstanding, multidimensional, effective, and forward-thinking philanthropic practices.
Thank you all of you guys for joining, and I will start the Kahoot game right now. Congratulations for the people who got it right. It is 1927. We have the results right now. And if you see your name on the screen, please send a screenshot to the group chat or the email that our host sent in our Zoom's chat box. Thank you all of you for participating in the first game. And for those of you who didn't get the prize, there will be a second round waiting for you. Please stay tuned. Thank you.
Well, welcome back and congratulations to all the winners. Congratulations to all the winners. We're looking forward. If you haven't got any luck for this round, do prepare for the second round. We also want to take this opportunity to thank for all our sponsors who are also local business, but are also supporting local communities development. And without any priorities, they are iKids Education, Build the Coding Mind, the SoGov Academic, SoGov So Powerful, optometrist Dr. Xiaojing Fu, and Upswing Academic. Now, I would like to welcome our next guest speaker, Dr. Hanif Jamal, who brings to us his personal career development experiences in Canada's medical field. Dr. Jamal is Medical Director of IASIS Health Management, the President of the Halton Healthcare Professional Staff Association. He's also the Board Director of Halton Healthcare and former Board Director of the Oakville Hospital Foundation. Dr. Jamal completed his residency in family medicine at McMaster University. Dr. Jamal, go ahead and inspire us.
Those are tough words to do. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank Speak Today. I really think that this is a great organization, and the work that you're doing is really, really great. And it's an honor to speak to such a dedicated group and such a philanthropic group. So my kind of chat today is pretty informal and casual. And I look forward to the questions. So I thought I'd just so my name is Hanif Jamal, and I'm a medical doctor. After 17 years, it's still kind of funny to say that. I still remember, the day I got my acceptance to medical school. I was at Guelph. I was studying at Guelph doing summer school, and my mom called me on the phone, and she goes, "Hold on a second," and she pressed three-way and connected to my dad. And then they told me that they opened my mail and that I had got in. I was actually most impressed that my mom knew how to use three-way calling. That was back in 2003, I think, or 2004, so a long, long time ago. And so I still remember that like it was yesterday. So after all these years, it was such an important day in my life. And I'm really excited to kind of reflect back on my times and what I was doing back then and what it took to get into medical school. I remember how difficult my med school application was, and how much help I got from my brother helping me edit it. And there were so many things back then that I wish I had known, that I was surprised at when I was writing it. But also I was really pleasantly surprised at a lot of the things that I had done up to that point that I didn't really know were great things for medical school, that were really really important for me, and served me well to get into medical school. I think Jennifer is going to be speaking after me with some stories about her experiences about this as well. So that'll be exciting because, again, I was there a long time ago. Medicine is not the only profession in healthcare. And I think that, I come from an Asian background, and in my world, in the Indian family, you have to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. And so I think that, I want to share with you that there's a lot of fields within healthcare that are really exciting, and medicine may not be the right fit. That being said, when you are studying and building your resume and kind of doing those sort of things, it is important to, if you're thinking about healthcare, to try to do stuff and to become a doctor, and because it often is one of the most difficult things to get into. And if you choose to go another path within healthcare, you'll at least be well positioned to get into those professions as well. So it's not wrong to think doctor early and then change your mind, and that's okay too. So if you are interested, it's appropriate to build your career and resume with medicine as your ultimate goal. I think volunteering at the hospital is a great, great opportunity. It's something I did when I was in high school, but it's not the only way to get your foot in the door. I think it's important that you think about other ways, things that you can be creative, be resourceful, create your own opportunities, and get involved with anything or any sort of activity that has some themes to it. And some of the themes are activities that help you show your compassion, activities that help others. And I think it's also important, if you are thinking of a career in healthcare, to get involved with activities where you get to work with the sick. because it's something that's important for you to kind of get familiar with and comfortable with. I remember I had a person who was applying to med school and said, "Oh, I can't stand the sight of blood," and I was like, "Well, you might be in the wrong profession if you can't stand the sight of blood." I wanted to share one important trait. I used to be on the selection committee for the President's Scholarship at the University of Guelph many years ago. And that was an entrance scholarship. And when we were going through all the applications, we had a little guide next to us that said, look for these things in particular. And most of the stuff on there was, standard stuff that we know. But one thing that was interesting, it said, look for candidates that have joined a club that was not doing well, and they turned the club around and made it into something successful, or they joined a committee or a sport that was failing in that school, and they took the initiative to believe in it and turned it around, or created their own club from scratch. So we had a lot of applicants that joined existing things, but it was really interesting that they were looking for someone that was a self-starter, or someone that didn't just join the popular stuff. They actually started something. So I wanted to share that with you because those are some of the unique things that would set your application apart. I also have a lot of students that love the idea of being a doctor, but they're not really familiar with the day-to-day of what it's like to be a physician. They sometimes think, oh, I want to be a doctor because I want to tell people I want to be a doctor, but they're not really prepared. And, I can share that, while my friends were partying in the university, I had to make sure I was studious and paid attention and kept working. And when I graduated undergraduate university, a lot of my friends were finished and they were making money, they were getting married, they were enjoying, their early to mid 20s while I was just starting medical school. And then you fast forward, 6 or 7 years, and that's when I'm getting out and they're already established in their career. And, I was looking back, I haven't, for the last 15 years in a row, this is finishing medical school, I had to work at the hospital for 15 Christmases in a row. And so that's a big sacrifice, and it's a big sacrifice that you have to be prepared for if you're entering into certain types of fields of medicine that your life is often dedicated. And, you can't just plug out because people need you. And I think it's something to think about. You don't have the luxury to do so. I wanted to show this. This was happening. I'll show you the time of this. I got an email while I was on this call with you guys, 7:03 p.m. And now if you don't like gross stuff, you have to turn away for a second. But there's a picture of this leg that I got. And that was a picture from a patient that sent me a message while I was on the call saying, hey, I fell, I really injured my leg. It's infected, it's oozing. What do I do? And there's no clinic open right now at this time. And so he messaged me, and while I was waiting for my turn, I was calling in antibiotic prescriptions for the patient, asking him questions and what have you. So the job is all the time, and these people need you, right? Like, what would he do if he didn't get a hold of me? So you have to remember that you have this greater responsibility and duty, and you have to be comfortable with that. It is fulfilling. I got to tell you that I think it's the most wonderful job in the world. You can see the results of your hard work and commitment, which is a really nice thing, because some jobs you don't get to see the fruits of your labor. I also think that it's a profession that is respected and appreciated. And so when you're going through those hard times, I think we do get that pat on the back. Sometimes I wish nurses and other members of our allied health team got the same sort of recognition that physicians do. And so I would say that is one of the benefits is, it is something where your hard days are appreciated. I also think one of the most important traits for a good doctor, if you're interested in that career, is that you have to be curious. And you also have to have a lifelong thirst for learning. These are the natural tendencies that you got to have. And if you don't have those two natural tendencies, curiosity and love for learning, I would tell you that medicine's probably not the best career for you, or you probably won't be a good doctor. And I think that that's important. You want to be good at whatever you do. During the pandemic, I think it was a good example of the difference between people who are interested in being a good clinician and some people who are not, or people who just said, this is not for me. I'm glad I never went into medicine. Because, the science changes daily. You have to stay on top of things. You have to follow the news. You have to follow the research articles. You have to do your own clinical studies. And then you see someone on TV saying, oh, there's this new drug and ask your doctor about it. Well, guess what? That doctor is you. And, after you see someone on TV saying this, you have, hydroxychloroquine, it's a miracle drug. I know I'm going to get 10 calls the next day. So that night I had to go research it, ask other colleagues. And so you always have to be on top of things. And even now, if I have a patient that has COVID, what's the latest therapeutics? What's the new drugs out there? What are the things that are debunking? Every time the government comes up with a new change in the AstraZeneca vaccine or Pfizer vaccine, it comes on the news, but the physicians actually have to read research papers about it. So, and then we have to message our patients. And so I share that with you because it's one of these things where you have to always be on top of things because people are relying on you to give them information as a trusted source. So you have to be comfortable always learning. And I got to tell you, I love doing it. I enjoy learning about it and learning about these different things. And so I don't think of it as a burden. But if you did think of it as a chore, you would be miserable in this profession. What else was I going to talk about? I think also another important thing about being a physician is you have to be able to retain and recall a lot of information. And I think that's very, very important because in pressure situations, you got to just use your head. You can't Google everything. And so, that's why getting high grades is important. And, the average entering grade to get into medical school is, in the mid to high 90s, I think. And so there's a reason for that. And the reason is, that you have to show a proven track record that you're able to, sometimes just buckle down and memorize a whole bunch of stuff that seems unnecessary, or be able to understand complicated acid-base equations, and learning it really quickly. Because these sort of things come up in the medical profession and you're going to have to be able to quickly grasp concepts. So it is very important. And also because so many people are applying to medical school, it's very difficult for them to separate, all amazing people. So the easiest way for a medical school to separate is get your grade and say, everyone under this grade, we're not even going to look at. I don't care if they're awesome. I don't care if they're exceptional. We just don't have the time. We're not going to be able to go through 5,000 applications. So only people with 90% and above are going to look at. And so that is how the game is played. So unfortunately, you have to get high grades as best you can in order to be competitive. And so don't compromise getting a high grade for doing something extracurricular. Make sure that your grades are, as best as you can be, then focus on some of the other things, but never take away from your academics as a compromise, because that's the most important. As much as I don't like it to be the most important, it's the most important because so many people apply, so they have to use that metric. I also think that with respect to the extracurricular activities, I don't think you should be crafty or do things that you think would be really good for your med school application. I think you have to do what you enjoy and then do it really well, and then have a story to tell about it. I'll tell you a really quick funny story is that when in my high school, I was captain of my basketball team, captain of my soccer team, captain of my volleyball team, student council president, drama club. I was on everything. And the funny thing was in my med school application, the thing that they wanted to talk about the most was the fact that I did a Michael Jackson dance competition and won the competition. And for some reason, the judge wanted to talk about that and thought that that was funny. And that's what we talked about. So, it just goes to show you that that was something silly. And I put that in there as as a story for something. But that was what they wanted to talk about, and nothing to do with medicine, but it painted a picture of someone that they were intrigued about. And so it was true to who I was. It was my nature. I wasn't, faking anything. And so my application was honest, and I think it resonated. So it's important to just, do what you like, do what you, and just do it really well. Your interest and passion should show. But one thing that's important is you should have some themes in there that show that the things that you'd like to do can be translated into medicine loosely. So being a team leader, bringing people together to participate in an event, volunteerism, putting in countless hours to become the best at something, whether it's playing piano or playing basketball, Those are all important things that you can translate into a career in medicine, even though they're not, medical stuff. I think another critical piece is finding mentors. I think this is the one thing when I was applying for medical school, we had to have 3 references from people that knew me well. And I was at a medium to large university, and I didn't really know my professors that well. I was applying in my 2nd year, getting into my 3rd year when I applied to med school, and I didn't have that relationship. And so I actually had to go back to my high school guidance counselor to fill out my med school application. And so the fact that you guys are here online today, I think is really important. Quickly, I'll tell you that when probably 10 years ago, I was giving a presentation like this. I wasn't in med school. So no, more than 10 years ago then, probably around 15 or 16 years ago. I wasn't in med school yet. And I was asked to give a presentation at a church about scholarships and getting into undergraduate with scholarships. And a mom came up to me and said, "Can you talk to my son? He's in grade 10 and he wants some mentorship." And long story short, we kind of connected, we chatted. That student in grade 10, I stayed with him throughout the whole time because I kind of became his mentor. He got into medical school. He became valedictorian of his medical school class, got into the top residency program, went to Stanford University, Ivy League, and became one of the top pain anesthesiology doctors. And now he's working at U of T, all grown up. And I was the master of ceremonies at his wedding. That's how close we became. And so you never know, things just like this today could be that turning point for many people. So I applaud you guys for, taking the time to go to these things. And I can tell you, my mom, when I was young, she would drag me to a lot of these sort of things. And I didn't understand it, especially if you're in grade 9, 10, 11, it is important. And sometimes you never know who you're going to meet or what inspires you to move forward. Getting back to volunteering, I think it's really, really important, probably the best experience that I had to prepare me for a career in medicine. I got to actually volunteer with the Hospital Foundation more than half a decade ago. In medical school, I was getting so busy, you kind of forget about volunteerism. But once I started working and had some time, I really wanted to get back and volunteer. And that's when I reached out to the foundation and got involved. I think that it gives you a sense of fulfillment. It gives you a sense of community. A doctor is supposed to help people, but it doesn't necessarily mean helping them by the bedside. I think it really means helping people in general. And so I think it's something that's really important. I feel really, really good about volunteering at a lot of the hospital events. And there's a lot of events to get involved with. So, even after this call, get involved after the Zoom meeting, figure out what you can do. And it's a lot of fun. You can do it at your school. You can volunteer at your religious center or your cultural center. And of course, at the hospital. When you start doing good things like that, you never know what's going to happen. I'll kind of leave it with a quick story because I know we don't have too much time, but before I joined the foundation, I was asked to give a talk for 10 minutes at a foundation event where they were raising money for warming blankets. So the hospital was raising money to get these sort of ovens where you would put blankets inside so you could get warm blankets to give to patients who were cold in the hospital. So I got a call and someone said, "Hey, would you like to speak to a group of people? They're having an event at someone's house and they need a physician there to kind of talk about these things." And I was like, "What are they? Warming blankets? Oh, okay." And so I was going to go to this event. And just so happens that I was going on a date with the girl. And the only day that she could meet was on that same day. And so I told her, this was our first date, remember? And I said, I know you're going to kill me and I know this is our first date, but I really have to go to this thing for 10 minutes and just say a little thing, and then we can go and have our first date. I don't know these people. I don't even know these foundation people, but once you're at the GO train station, we can just pop over there and do this thing. And so she said, "Yeah, fine." I'm like, "I think there's drinks and stuff there if you're old enough." And so we went to this event, and everyone there were couples, and everyone there were all fancy and formal. And everyone was asking us how long we'd been married for because we were there together. We didn't want to tell everyone it was our first date. And I did my 10-minute presentation, and we thought, oh, that was kind of fun, and we left. long story short, she's now my wife. And just a couple months ago, we had our first baby at Oakville Hospital. And while my wife was in the room with her baby, she was feeling cold. And I got goosebumps saying the story. And I actually went out of the room in search of a warm blanket. And guess what was there? That warming blanket that I had bought, that I had helped speak to raise money for that warming blanket, was the exact thing I went into to get the blanket that I was giving to the woman that I had met on my first date at the foundation event. So it was kind of a whole full circle of sometimes when you get involved with charity stuff, you might find a wife and a baby. So I'll leave it at that. And thank you everyone for your time.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Jamal, for such a touching, thought-provoking, insightful presentation and story. I saw the face of the audience. You definitely got us there. The wife and baby, right? I also recognize and I can relate it to that Asian families, lawyer, doctor, engineers. It definitely a lot of story that we share. I'm sure your story already inspired many of us. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. We're limited at the time. I want to see if we have any question for Dr. Jamal. I haven't seen anything from the chat box. Again, we can, if you have any questions for Dr. Jamal, you can contact us and then we can be in touch. So quickly, now let's move to the Kahoot number 2, second round. Are you ready? Sabrina, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sabrina, and welcome to second round of our Kahoot game. I will start by introducing the prize we have for this round's top 5 winners, as usual. At the beginning, code lesson for first place that is worth $630. Swing practicing machine for second place that is worth $150. Adult eye exam and consultation for third place that is worth $110. Summer program cash coupon for fourth place that is worth $100. And a gift card for fifth place that is worth $50. We will start straight away this time since everyone's already familiar with the rules. And I will start the game right now. Here's the game pin, and I'll wait for people to join. The game pin is 3567391.
Looks like we're much faster than last round. Keep them coming. Those are good prize. Yeah, use another device. Log into www.kahoot.it and then enter the pin that you see on the top of the screen, the game pin.
I think it is everyone. Oh, no. I'll wait for another couple seconds. Yes, I think I'll just start now. Part 2. to reveal. Congratulations, congratulations. So just a reminder, please send a screenshot to the group chat or the email that our host sent in our Zoom's chat box. And thank you all for participating in today's Kahoot. Hope you all enjoyed the interactive section.
Well, thank you. Welcome back. And congratulations again to our winners. Time passes really quick. And now it's time to welcome our third and the last speaker of tonight, Jennifer Zheng. Jennifer will share with us her story from Wall Street to the medical world. Jennifer is a medical student at University of Toronto. She completed her undergraduate degree at Johns Hopkins University, where she double majored in biochemical engineering and applied math and statistics. Wow. She then worked in finance at TD Securities in New York City for 2 years prior to medical school. In her spare time, Jennifer volunteers in various community and education initiatives. Can't wait to hear your story, Jennifer. Take the floor, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer, and like Melody introduced, I'm a third-year medical student at the University of Toronto right now. I'm really excited to be a part of such a dedicated group and have the opportunity to speak to all of you tonight, especially the youth who've attended. Since I don't have quite as much wisdom and experience as some other physicians like Dr. Jamal, I'll be focusing my presentation mainly on my personal experiences and sort of non-traditional path to how I got into medicine. So Melody already gave like a great bio of sort of what I've been up to for the past 5 or 10 years. But I'll provide a little bit more information, I guess, on the reasons behind some of my decisions, because some of you might be asking, like why I, studied things I did and like how I ended up getting here to U of T. So starting off from the beginning, when I was, in high school, I had a lot of interests and I wanted to study engineering and math, mainly because one, I actually really enjoyed math and physics. They were my favorite subjects in high school. And the other reason, and probably more important one, was I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I just thought in my mind that studying an engineering degree would probably give me the most flexibility to work in like different fields, whether it was tech or becoming an engineer or medicine or law or, just really anything. So I ended up going to Johns Hopkins. Partially, the reason for going to a US school was also to get away from my parents. Otherwise, they would visit me probably every single weekend. But I had a great time there. Hopkins is known for its research and medical school, so not surprisingly, I ended up doing research and volunteer work quite early during my first year of undergrad. I initially signed up because a lot of my friends were doing similar things, but to my surprise, I actually really enjoyed it. The more time I spent in the hospital, the more and more interested I became in medicine and pursuing it as a career. Several of my close friends at the time were also applying to medical school, so they definitely influenced me and motivated me to apply as well. I ended up getting into U of T at the end of undergrad. However, unfortunately, my father had passed away a week before my graduation and medical school acceptance. I was 21 at the time, and this obviously had a significant impact on me. I began questioning whether becoming a physician was really the right choice for me. And as many of you probably know, the training that is required to becoming a doctor is incredibly long. Often, 4 years of medical school and 2 to 6 years where some people do even more schooling, a residency. And because of this, it was important to me that I was sure that this was something I actually really wanted to do. So I decided to defer my acceptance to U of T for 2 years and gain some experience working in industry before committing to such a long journey. I ended up moving to New York City after university, and I worked as a trader at a TD Bank. I really enjoyed working in finance at first. It utilized a lot of the quantitative skills I learned during undergrad. It was challenging, it was fast-paced, and living in New York was always a dream of mine. However, the hours were extremely long in the banking world, and I quickly found that the work became very transactional in nature. I was always thinking of wanting to do something a bit more meaningful and something where I directly was helping someone. And throughout all this time too, like on the weekends when I wasn't working, I would dedicate just like an afternoon every other weekend to volunteer at the local hospital in New York. In the US, their health system is quite different. So the hospital I was volunteering at, it was like a public sort of like hospital, and the conditions were suboptimal. So I think continuing to do that volunteer work really kind of kept my interest in medicine and was one of the reasons that I really considered coming back to Toronto for medical school. I also knew that my deferral only lasted 2 years, so I would basically be giving up my acceptance if I didn't go back at that time, which meant that I would have to go through the entire application process again if I ever wanted to attend medical school in the future. I also reasoned in my mind that I could always choose to come back and work in industry or finance if I really wanted to. However, being a physician is just one of those things that if you don't go to medical school, there was just absolutely no way that you could do it. So kind of with these thoughts in mind, I ended up leaving my job and returned to Toronto for med school. Any career is tough and has its own set of challenges. However, the transition back to medical school for me was particularly challenging. In terms of my knowledge, I felt like I had to overcome a steep learning curve when I started school initially because I didn't have a strong background in the sciences compared to the majority of my peers, many of whom studied, like sciences during their undergrad. I also have worked in an unrelated industry for 2 years prior, so I wasn't really used to the amount of studying that's really required in medical school, and even things like, taking multiple choice exams, which were kind of foreign to me because besides the MCAT, my undergrad didn't really consist of, similar tests. So I just felt like, really behind in terms of those things. For the past year, though, I feel like it's been really helpful to be able to rotate through different specialties at the hospital. And throughout the clinical experience, I felt like it's really helped me consolidate all the theoretical knowledge I learned during the first 2 years of medical school, because I now have an opportunity to apply it in the clinical setting. And for me, having that sort of context around the things I'm studying really helps me to retain and be able to recall that knowledge when needed. Even though things are really busy right now, I've been trying to continue volunteering as much as I can and being involved mainly in mentorship programs now that provide support for marginalized youth interested in medicine. Given the pandemic, it's been very hard to continue volunteering at the hospital, but I find that, kind of staying involved in mentorship and finding other things you can do in your time just through virtually has really helped me sort of cope with a lot of busy days and studying. So in conclusion, having dabbled in a few different career fields, I'm really glad I ended up in medicine. I'm a believer that no knowledge you learn is ever wasted, which is something that I've just recently come to realize. I definitely felt like, having engineering and finance, I thought it was more of a handicap sort of coming to medical school because I felt so many of my peers were so smart and so ahead and, so great at taking tests. But I feel like, if you just try to integrate what you've learned in other areas to your current work, it actually offers, a really unique perspective, and it also just makes you like a more interesting person in some ways. I hope that by sharing some of my experiences, it has inspired some of you to pursue a career in the healthcare field, whether it's medicine or something else. But in my biased opinion, I feel like medicine has amazing opportunities for really meaningful work that's both challenging and very rewarding. And just before I end, I wanted to mention that the organization will be hosting a charity run on July 31st at 9 a.m. at Coronation Park. And the proceeds will go towards scholarships to help support youth who are pursuing public health and medicine. So if you're interested, there's a link via Eventbrite where you can all sign up. So thank you again for listening, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for sharing such a beautiful and inspiring story. Thank you for sharing that. It's amazing just to see that you mentioned all the experience. None of them will be wasted, and how you'll be able to leverage all your previous experiences through different sectors, and now putting them all together and integrate them into the medical world and start to help people. Thank you so much. I saw there are some really good questions from the chat box. From Carrie Coburn, who is the Carrie, hi. Carrie is the former chair of the Oakville Chamber. Carrie, do you want to do you feel comfortable to unmute yourself and ask a question by yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Melody. And thanks for such a wonderful evening. So Jennifer, you talked about how your background, your different path made it a little bit more difficult for you. Were there some things about having a business experience and a different education experience prior to entering that has given you a benefit or over other students, or just in your experience or your ability to relate to some of the people you're dealing with?
Yeah, for sure. I think, everything sort of has its pros and cons. And during the first 2 years, I definitely felt that, it was a little bit of a disadvantage, not sort of having that traditional science background. But now during my third year, having done, a lot of clinical rotations, I find that it's actually really helpful to have all these different life experiences, because it helps make you more relatable, and especially when you're talking to patients, patients who are dealing with the loss of their own, where, their own illness, where, they work in multiple different fields, where have transitioned from different jobs. And I feel like it gives you like a almost like increased maturity, that you can really like understand their stories better. And I feel like that is extremely important to being a physician. That's often not taught, because, we're so focused on like just grasping the knowledge and just like learning that first. But I feel like being able to have those difficult conversations and being relatable to patients is like extremely important. And it's really what I think patients at the end of the day care about. It's important to be smart and knowledgeable, but lots of people are, but it's sort of like the people who go above and beyond and like make those connections that really make a difference in these patients.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. You really gave us a really good example for us youth to see how a diversified background may help them. And I love you when you mentioned that the mature personality will set you for success and distinguish you from all your peers. Thank you so much again for being with us tonight and sharing your story. And thanks for that special announcement. The 31st of July, 9 a.m., OMAP will host our summer charity run and walk. And please come and join us. We also prepare rich educational events throughout the year. So please make sure you check our website and so that you mark your calendars. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our seminar night. On behalf of all members of OMAF, thank you so much for making your time in your busy schedule to join us here this evening. It's been our pleasure to host this event, and I and all the members of OMAF wish you a good evening and a great weekend ahead. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Good weekend.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.